Hi, happy Monday, and welcome back to the second installment of my monthly series where I talk about all of the media I consumed and what I like and what I recommend. This is the perfect time to release this because these videos perform horribly and my channel is already in the gutter right now in terms of views, but... Hello everyone. I decided to put this video on ESETUS because it doesn't perform well enough on my channel and I'm also uploading it 2 days late. My song is already out though, so listen to it. I'm not gonna give up after a month, okay? I'm gonna keep doing it. I have a song dropping tonight. It's called Not Good Enough. It's by Denton. And there's a link in the description below if you want to pre-save it, or if it's already August 1st, then you can just play it on Spotify. Just look up Not Good Enough by Denton. I've kind of been on trips the whole month. I went to LA at the beginning of this month, and then I just got back from a trip to Colorado. So I haven't been able to look at a lot, okay? I haven't been able to consume a lot. It's just been a lot of just going places. But I'm gonna talk about it still because there's still some stuff to talk about. Let's start with movies. I only saw 2 movies this month because I'm bad at sitting down and just doing nothing for 2 hours except for focusing on something. But I love talking about movies, but I will never watch them. But we'll still talk about the 2 new ones that I saw. Oh, this chair, move. Oh, dude. First one that I saw was Thor: Love and Thunder, which was the most disappointing movie I maybe have ever seen in my life. This was one of the Marvel movies that I was actually looking forward to. I love Taika Waititi. I love a lot of the films he's made in the past. What We Do in the Shadows is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love Hunt for the Wilder People. I love Jojo Rabbit. I loved Thor Ragnarok. So when I came into Thor: Love and Thunder, I didn't think that I was going to be so let down, but it is by far the biggest letdown out of any Marvel movie that I've had so far. Because Spider-Man, even though I thought it was not a great film, I still enjoyed the movie and it was still an event and a spectacle to watch. This was just pure nothingness. It was the most Marvel movie. Taika's jokes fell flatter than they ever have. Every single joke was like unbelievably empty and just had no soul, which is kind of the feeling of the whole entire movie for me. Every character's arc didn't feel like it went anywhere. Thor's arc is the same as it has been since the first movie, and even though I feel like the Russo brothers did the best job they could to make that arc work in Infinity War, and they did such a great job of it, but every single time Taika had to take Thor's already existing character arc and ruin it. And it worked in Ragnarok because he did a great job with it. But then after Russo brothers did Infinity War and Endgame, I feel like he lost track of where Thor could really go. And I think that's probably the biggest flaw about the movie, is that it didn't need to happen in the first place. Natalie Portman's character was completely unnecessary in the movie, and it was also the most out of place part of the movie. I feel like Marvel is trying their best to bring in interesting and new storylines, but they don't actually have a reason to bring them in. And I'm sorry, but they don't know how to write women. They never have, and they still don't. It's the case with Captain Marvel. It's the case with Black Widow. And it's the case with Valkyrie and Jane's character in Thor: Love and Thunder. Neither of them have any substance at all. They could do something great with this storyline. They could move it away from Thor and focus on a new character, but instead they made her a one-off character that added nothing to the plot, and they could have had a better story with Thor and Gore than they could have with Lady Thor. Sorry, not Lady Thor. There's a line in the movie where Gore calls her Lady Thor, and she goes, "First of all, it's Mighty Thor! Ah!" And then she goes, "And second of all, eat my hammer." That's not a joke. That's real dialogue in the movie. Those 2 lines. I'm Mighty Thor, eat my hammer. Those are real dialogue lines. And I'd love for them to make a great Mighty Thor. A lot of her design I thought was actually kind of interesting. I love how the hammer like split apart into a bunch of pieces and like killed a bunch of guys and came back. But it doesn't work with her character. And also Natalie Portman's like not good at comedy. Like the lines are just cringe. I'm sorry. Because this movie was set up to be great. And I expected it to at least be okay. And it was just so sad. It doesn't even look good. The cinematography is horrible. It's like, it feels like an SNL parody sketch of Thor Ragnarok. Now, my only hope for Marvel is that James Gunn does a good job with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because I actually think James Gunn is a great director, and everything he's done in the past in terms of both Guardians movies, Peacemaker, The Suicide Squad, I think all of it was like fantastic. So I think that he can do a good job with Guardians, and I'm praying that he does, but also I'm not expecting anything. I think from now on, I'm sort of out of my Marvel phase of like trying to keep up with it. I was trying to keep up with the shows. I was mostly doing a good job at it. I was starting to watch Ms. Marvel. And then this movie just killed Marvel for me. Like, I just don't have that excitement I used to have, and it's so sad because it used to mean so much to me, dude. But alas, bad things happen. We move on. Life moves on. And the second movie I saw this month was Nope. which it was a pleasure to watch. I freaking love this movie. It was like I got both ends of the good and bad movie spectrums of the month. I talk about it more in my Letterboxd review, but this film I feel like was such a home run for Jordan Peele, and I definitely think that he's 3 for 3 with his movies. I love all 3 of them, but I think Nope could be a contender for the best one so far. From the story to the metaphors that are drawn between different plot points to the acting from all 4 of like the main people in the movie. The sound design, the way it looks, the music, everything is just so masterfully done with this like precision and excellence, and I can't help but like love this universe that Peele created in this movie. I don't want to get too far into the spoilers of it because I really think anyone who's watching this should see it, but I've been talking to friends about this movie since it came out, and I continue to find more and more parallels that make me love it even more. This is my second favorite movie of the year behind Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I don't really see how another film could beat either of these 2 out besides maybe Marcel the Shell, which I've been trying to see, but they're not showing it anywhere near me. And I know I'm going to love it, but I'm just trying to figure out how I can watch it. And also earlier this month, I watched Everything Everywhere All at Once again, and I loved it just as much as I did the first time. And I still love it. Every single time I watch it, it's a joy. It's a joy. Like the movie. It's a joy. Now let's move on to television shows. I started watching The Rehearsal with Nathan Fielder, which I think is just a fantastic idea. He always blows every idea he has out of the park. I've only seen the first 2 episodes so far. I know a third one came out, but I haven't seen it yet. But the first 2 are a delight to watch, and I love the execution of such a great idea that I don't think anyone else could do as well as Nathan Fielder. I started watching The Righteous Gemstones also, which is a show about a family that runs a mega church, and it's hilarious. It has Adam Devine in it, it has John Goodman. Every single actor I think is casted so well into their role, and I feel like it's one of those ideas where I don't know how it hasn't been done yet, but with the different sets that they have for the church and for their houses and everything, I feel like it sets the tone so well, and it's a hilarious show, and I recommend it if you kind of like that religious comedy stuff, I guess. I don't know. And finally, I started watching BoJack Horseman, which I've been saying that I've been starting. I started it when the first season came out when I was like in high school, and then I never kept watching it, and everyone recommended it to me. And I tried watching it again like a month ago, and I couldn't fully get into it. And now when I was on my trip, I finally got into it, and I'm in the 2nd season now, and I'm excited to keep going because I know it's supposed to get like really, really good. Okay. We'll move on to music. If you want to listen to any of the music that I talk about in this video, I'm going to do a little playlist. I'll do a little fun playlist just for this month. So click it down below and you can listen. My album of the month out of everything that I've listened to is the new album by Biba Doobie. I think it's so good. I haven't listened to her music before this album, and I am just like so into it. I've kind of taken a step away from like rap and hip hop stuff lately. There hasn't been that much that has drawn me in, and I've been a lot more into this kind of music, and it's very like summery, and a lot of it's very happy. A lot of it's sad too, but it's like such a good roll your windows down and drive kind of music, and it's exactly what I'm looking for right now, and it's very good. It's so good. There's so many favorites on this album. I love Sunny Day, The Perfect Pair, Fairy Song, and then especially my favorite song out of all of them is the closer on the album, which is You're Here, That's the Thing. I think that song might be my favorite song that came out this year. I love it very much. It's so good, and you should listen to it. I've also been listening to the EP Summer's Over by Jordana, one of my good friends, and TV Girl. It's so good. Every sample and every beat they use is amazing, and Jordana does such a good job of coming up with like these great melodies over these like very, I don't know, it just sets this mood that I don't think another EP or album could do for me. I think Summer's Over and Jump the Turnstile are the 2 tracks that stand out the most to me, and I think you should check it out. It's like such a quick listen, and it's so good. I don't know how anyone could listen to it and be like, no, I hate this movie. I've been listening to McGee and a lot of his album called Pronounced McGee. There's the opener on this, If He, is now one of my favorite songs like ever. I keep listening to it, and there's this little melody with these little keys, and it's very fun, and I love the song, and I'm gonna put it first on the playlist because it's such a good one to start with. Superorganism came out with a new album. They're one of my favorite bands with their self-titled Superorganism that came out like way back in 2017, I want to say. I was wrong. It's 2018. Their new album's great. I haven't gotten the chance to like fully jump into it yet, but a lot of the singles were great, and I've listened through the full album maybe like 4 or 5 times. It's very busy and compressed, and there's a lot going on, but I think for the right situation, it could be really good, and I'm still getting into it. I really love a lot of the songs on it. It's just a lot at once is all. But On and On, Put Down Your Phone, Crushed, and a lot of the singles I think are really great songs. I'll put a couple on the playlist. A friend of mine, Quickly, has an album called The Long and Short of It that I think came out last year, and I started listening to that, and it's actually really, really great. And there's some good songs in there. He's got such a unique and great voice, and his production is very organic, and I am really enjoying it so far. Next up is a song called Believe Me by James and the Shame, which is a new project that Rhett McLaughlin from Red and Link and Good Mythical Morning started. It's this great like country folk kind of song about his experience with his spirituality and how people reacted to him leaving the church when he had a following online, and how people kind of dismiss you as like saying that you never really were a real Christian when you leave the church. And I feel like it's such an interesting thing because he's picking a genre that is very much rooted in the South and Christianity and conservatism a lot of the time. But he's talking about a message that is very much against that, or at least addressing the downfalls of that kind of stuff. So I feel like it could reach a lot of people that are kind of unsure of how to process someone close to them leaving religion. And it's a really beautiful song too. I think he's got a great voice. I think the instrumentation is great, and it's such a like deep and sad song. I've been listening to a lot of Blood Orange, which I've loved the past few years, but I'm just starting to get into it again. No one else really has production or can create ambience like Dev Hynes can. And I'll put a few songs from both his albums, Swan and Angel's Pulse, and they both have really great songs in there that I think are super interesting. There's not a lot of production out there that is so raw but like has such a specific ambience to it. I don't really know how to explain it, but I think it's always worth listening to. Indigo de Souza, I think that's how you say it, is a group that I've been listening to a lot, especially one of their singles called Namoa, which has this great like spoken word first verse that I think is really interesting and has some really cool stuff going on there. And finally, since I've been traveling a lot, I've been listening to Brian Eno's Ambient One, Music for an Airport, which is airport ambient music that sounds like you're going to like purgatory or you're taking a plane to die or something. There's a lot of cool stuff about this album that I read about, like how he picked certain frequencies that wouldn't block out like dialogue, so you could listen to it in the background while you're going through the process of getting to your flight. And the music is very like heavenly or kind of just like mysteriously existential. I heard someone say in an interview, or it might have been Brian Eno, that the music is less about making people feel like, oh, you're gonna come to the airport and the flight's gonna be safe and you're gonna be okay and everything's gonna be okay. And it's more of the vibe of like, hey, the plane might crash when you get on it, but if it does, why does it matter? And it sort of makes you feel like you can address those issues through this ambience that kind of plays in the background as you go through something. It puts airports in like a different context for me. It makes them feel a little more, I don't know, like intense rather than like cluttered and stressful. It makes it feel more epic, and I don't know how to explain it. Maybe it's just because I go to the airport really high. Maybe that's why I feel that way. But that's all the music for this month. Again, I will link a playlist below so you can check it out. Finally, I'll talk about video games that I played this month for the people that are still sticking around somehow. I started playing Stray, which is this great game about a cat that falls into this big pit and he gets in this cyberpunk city and he's like running around and shit, and it's really cool. And I love it, and I love being a little cat, and the soundtrack is also great, and it looks good. And maybe it's a little bit short. I haven't finished it yet. I've heard that there are some bugs and then it's a little bit short, but I think it's a fun little playthrough. And if you like cats, or if you just like a game that you can sit back and relax and play and have the sort of environment take you in, I think it's a good pick. And it's a great game that just came out. I'm still playing Multiverses, which finally came out this month. If you don't know about it, it's a fighting game that Warner Brothers made, and you can play as like LeBron James and Finn the Human. And I think they're adding Rick and Morty to the game, and I play as like Tom and Jerry and Iron Giant. I thought I was good at the game. I first got it and I won like 20 something matches in a row. And then they started giving me really hard people. And now I'm like, I don't want to play anymore. I'm bad. I'm like so bad at the game. I thought I'd be good at a competitive multiplayer for once, but I'm not. I'm actually trash. I'm still playing Slay the Spire. You know how it is. Every single month, it's my favorite game. I've been traveling especially so I can play it on my Switch. I love Slay the Spire. I'm going to keep playing it. It'll probably come up every single month. And then I think it was this month that Fall Guys, I started getting back into it, and it's fun. I think it's way better than the original game they put out. I think they're definitely finding their rhythm with how they want to run the game, and it offers a lot more than the base game offered and makes me want to actually play often. So I think that's it for all the stuff that I consumed this month. It's been tough with traveling. I just keep having these trips come up, and I think I'm through 5 out of 8 of the trips I have since June, and then I'm trying to move in November. So like posting videos and coming up with ideas and sitting down and like working on longer form stuff has been really tough for me, and the views are kind of reflecting that. Like the channel seems to be kind of taking a dip right now, so I appreciate you if you're sticking around right now. I'm not like worried about the channel going down the dump. This is my job, and I'm confident that we have a community that is going to thrive and keep on growing through the next few years. But I am in a bit of a tough spot in terms of trying to put out content and feel confident about it. So I hope you have the patience for me to find that and take my time. I'm starting to hire new people to the team to kind of help out with videos, and I have some really big projects coming up. I also have the new song coming out, and I'm trying to post to some other channels. I have 5 total channels now. So I think we're headed in a good place. Mood-wise, I'm good. So as long as I'm happy, I feel like we're fine. Even if the numbers aren't doing that great and every once in a while it sucks, I'm at least in a good mood and I'm chilling. Well, I think that's it for the month, guys. I hope August is even better, okay? So strap in and tell me down below what you consumed this month and what you liked, okay? Thank you for watching. Remember to listen to my song, and I hope you have a wonderful day.